We always thought our son was perfect, so when his brother claimed he stalked and attacked his girlfriend at a wedding, we defended him. But as the truth unfolded, our family fell apart, and now he's in prison while everyone accuses us of creating a monster. For context, my spouse and I have 2 sons. They're close in age, both adults, and growing up they could not have been more different. Our older son has always been confident, social, and driven. Teachers loved him, coaches loved him, bosses loved him. He was the kid who spoke well, showed up polished, and knew how to carry himself. The younger one has always been more anxious, more emotional, more prone to spiraling and seeing slights where none were intended. That's not an insult, it's just how they've always been. That dynamic has existed their whole lives, and yes, we've stepped in over the years when things got heated. Not because we favored one over the other, but because one needed more grounding. We've always seen that as parenting, not choosing sides. Last year, we all traveled out of town for a large family wedding. Think multiple days, shared hotel blocks, open bar, people coming and going. Our older son attended alone. Our younger son brought his girlfriend, who we'd met a few times but didn't know particularly well. She was quiet, reserved, and honestly a little standoffish with us, but we chalked that up to nerve. Over the course of the weekend, there were moments where things felt tense. Our older son would check in on them, linger a bit, try to include her in conversations. Nothing that set off alarms for us. If anything, it reminded us of how he's always been intense, maybe too forward at times, but not malicious. At one point, my spouse even joked that he needed to give the younger one some space, and that was it. The night of the wedding reception is where everything went sideways. Late in the evening, someone came running saying there was screaming outside near the courtyard. By the time we got there, our younger son's girlfriend was crying, shaking, and yelling that our older son had followed her, cornered her, grabbed her, and told her not to embarrass him. Our younger son completely lost it and started shouting that this had been going on for weeks, that his brother had been stalking her, watching her, making comments. It was chaos. Security was called, then the police. Our older son was shocked, upset, and kept saying none of this was true. He said he'd stepped outside to talk because she seemed uncomfortable earlier and he wanted to clear the air. We didn't see injuries. Her story was disjointed. Alcohol had been flowing all night. From where we stood, things did not add up the way she was presenting them. I'll be honest, our instinct was to protect our child. Not blindly, but reasonably. Accusations like that are serious, and they came out in the most emotionally charged environment possible. We asked questions. We pointed out inconsistencies. We told people to slow down and stop treating this like it was already decided. Our older son was taken aside, questioned, and released that same night. No charges then, no arrest. The wedding effectively ended early, and by morning the entire family was split. Some relatives immediately sided with our younger son and his girlfriend. Others avoided us completely. A few told us privately they weren't sure what to believe. We were upfront with people. We said we thought what happened was being exaggerated, and that it felt cruel to let one night destroy someone's life without proof. That apparently made us monsters in some people's eyes. Our younger son barely spoke to us before checking out early. He accused us of always taking his brother's side, of never believing him. His girlfriend avoided us entirely. We felt blindsided. From our perspective, we were the ones being asked to condemn our own child on the spot based on accusations that didn't line up with what we'd seen over decades. Since then, things have only gotten worse. Family members have stopped calling. We've been told we're enablers. People talk as if there's no possibility of exaggeration or misunderstanding, like questioning the story itself is some kind of moral failure. What hurts the most is that it feels like we aren't allowed to be parents anymore. We're expected to abandon our son publicly to prove we're good people, and we refuse to do that. That doesn't mean we condone violence. It means we believe in fairness and evidence. Right now, everyone is acting like choosing caution and loyalty equals guilt. We're being treated as if defending our son automatically means we're excusing something horrible, and I don't accept that. So I'm asking honestly, are we wrong for refusing to destroy our own son over allegations that, from our perspective, don't make sense? I know Reddit tends to jump to extremes, but I need to hear whether we're actually being unreasonable here, or if everyone else is letting emotions and appearances run the show. Update 1. I wasn't planning to update this quickly, but things moved faster than I expected, and not in a good way. After the wedding, our younger son stopped answering our calls, almost immediately. At first, I thought he just needed time to cool off, which I actually understood. Emotions were high, everyone was embarrassed, and no one had slept. A few days passed, then a week. Nothing. When we finally got a short message back, It was clear he didn't want a relationship with us right now. He said we chose his brother and that we always had. I won't pretend that didn't sting, but I also think that's a very simplified version of what happened. What escalated things was his girlfriend filing a formal police report days later. That's where, in my mind, this stopped being about emotions and started feeling like retaliation. She had already made her point at the wedding. Everyone knew her version of events. Our son had been questioned and released. To us, filing an official report after the fact felt deliberate, not reactive. I know many people disagree with that, but that's honestly how it came across. Our older son, for his part, remained calm through all of this at first. He answered questions. He told us he felt blindsided and betrayed. He kept saying he didn't understand how a conversation turned into an accusation like this. He wasn't hiding, wasn't running, and didn't lash out. That reinforced our belief that this wasn't what people were making it out to be. Once attorneys got involved, we learned what was actually being alleged, and this is where things started to feel less straightforward, but also more frustrating. According to the report, this wasn't just about the wedding night. There were claims about messages sent before the wedding, about being followed at earlier family gatherings, about gifts that were supposedly unwanted. These were things we had either known about or heard about in passing and never flagged as concerning. To us, they sounded like awkward attempts at being friendly or trying too hard. Our older son has always been socially confident, but not always subtle. That's not new. Turning that into something sinister feels like a stretch. The gifts especially bothered me. He's always been generous to a fault. He brings things back from trips. He remembers birthdays no one else does. Suddenly, that generosity is being framed as something threatening. It feels like rewriting history to fit a narrative that only formed after the wedding. At some point, we asked our younger son to meet with us privately because we felt things were spiraling. That conversation was where I started to realize that this wasn't just about one incident, but years of resentment pouring out all at once. He accused us of always stepping in for his brother, of smoothing things over, of excusing behavior because it was easier than dealing with his reactions. He brought up an old situation from years ago involving a college friend of his brother, something that was discussed and, as far as we knew, resolved at the time. It was uncomfortable to hear, but I still believe calling it a pattern is exaggerated. Families handle things internally all the time. Not everything needs to become a public crisis. Still, that conversation didn't go the way we expected. Instead of de-escalating, it seemed to cement his belief that we were against him. After that, communication stopped completely. At the same time, the rest of the family started making their positions very clear. People we were close to stopped inviting us to gatherings. Holidays suddenly became small this year. Some relatives wouldn't say anything outright but treated us like we were radioactive. The most shocking part was when our younger son's grandparents openly sided with him and his girlfriend. That hurt more than I can explain. We expected disagreement, not condemnation. Our reaction wasn't to chase apologies or beg for understanding. We cut people off. If they had already decided who we were, there didn't seem to be a point in trying to convince them otherwise. Maybe that looks stubborn, but at some point you stop explaining yourself to people who only want to hear one version. Then the charges were officially filed. That was the moment this all stopped feeling theoretical. Our older son went from being inconvenienced to genuinely afraid. He became angry, then suspicious of everyone. He started asking who was talking to who believed what. It was like the ground shifted under all of us. We still believe the system is biased in these situations. We still believe his girlfriend is not being truthful in how she's framing things. That doesn't mean nothing happened. It means we don't accept the version being pushed as absolute fact. Apparently that stance alone is enough for people to label us monsters. I'll admit though, that this doesn't feel like it should have gone this far. False accusations aren't supposed to snowball into charges, attorneys, and family collapse unless there's something seriously wrong with how these situations are handled. That's where we are now. Still confident we did the right thing by not abandoning our son, but unsettled by how quickly everything has escalated and how alone we've become because of it. I'm asking again, maybe more urgently this time. Is it really normal for accusations like this to spiral so far out of control so fast, or are we missing something everyone else seems to see? Update 2. This update is harder to write because things no longer feel as clean as I wanted them to be, but they're also not as clear-cut as everyone else keeps insisting. We're now deep into the legal process. Discovery started, which I didn't fully understand before this. I thought it would mostly be statements and timelines. I didn't realize it meant we'd be forced to look at things laid out in ways we hadn't before, stripped of tone and intention. The first thing we were shown were messages. Not conversations back and forth, but strings of texts our older son sent to our younger son's girlfriend over a period of time. Seeing them grouped together instead of scattered over weeks made them look worse than I remembered. There was nothing explicit, nothing threatening, but there was repetition, check-ins, comments about where she was or whether she'd arrived safely, compliments that, on their own, would have sounded harmless. Taken together, they looked fixated. I still believe context matters. These messages started around family gatherings, holidays, travel. They weren't random. But I won't lie and say my stomach didn't drop seeing them printed out like evidence instead of everyday communication. Then there was an audio message. We were told ahead of time that it didn't play well, which already put me on edge. When we heard it, I understood why it was being used. It wasn't aggressive, but it was entitled in a way I hadn't noticed before. There was an assumption there, like he expected her attention and didn't understand why he wasn't getting it. I immediately thought people were reading into it too much, but I also couldn't unhear it. The hardest part to explain away was the hotel footage from the wedding. Security cameras caught him walking behind her down the hallway and into the courtyard. No sound, just visuals. To me, it looked like following, but I kept insisting it could have been coincidence, timing, people heading the same way. The attorney said flat out that it didn't look great. That phrase stuck with me. I started saying that over and over to myself. It doesn't look great. That's different from being proof. What really shook me, though, didn't come from the evidence. It came from our younger son, unexpectedly reaching out. For months, he hadn't spoken to us at all. Then suddenly he wanted to talk, not to reconcile, but to tell us something he said he should have been clearer about earlier. According to him, this wasn't new. He said months before the wedding, he told us his girlfriend was uncomfortable, that his brother showed up places uninvited, that there were comments and attention that felt off. He said he asked us to intervene and we brushed it aside. I didn't remember it the way he did. I remembered him being vague, emotional, saying she felt awkward around his brother. I remember thinking it sounded like insecurity mixed with sibling tension and not wanting to make it into a bigger issue right before a wedding. I remember telling him families are messy and not every uncomfortable feeling means someone did something wrong. Looking back, I can see how that sounded like dismissal. But here's the part no one wants to hear. I still don't believe we ignored a clear danger. I believe we chose calm over drama. I believe we thought adults would handle boundaries themselves. Maybe that was naive, but I don't see that as malicious. At the same time, our older son started unraveling. The calm he had at the beginning disappeared. He became angry, then erratic. He blamed us for not shutting this down sooner. He said if we'd told him to back off hard, none of this would be happening. Other times, he blamed his brother and said this was all jealousy finally exploding. He demanded loyalty in a way that made me uncomfortable, asking who we spoke to and what we said. For the first time, we pushed back. We told him we would support him, not attack others on his behalf. That didn't go over well. He swung between needing us and resenting us, sometimes in the same day. Update 3. This has taken me a while to write, because once the trial actually started, even with the evidence and the dates and the paperwork, there was always this sense that something might still turn, that it would fall apart or get dismissed or reduced to something manageable. I don't know if that's denial or just instinct, but once we were sitting in that courtroom, it became clear that none of us were in control anymore. The trial itself was shorter than I expected, but heavier than I was prepared for. Days blurred together in a way that's hard to explain unless you've lived it. Sitting there watching your own child reduced to a case file does something to you. He didn't look like himself. Not the confident, put-together person everyone knew. He looked tired, angry, and smaller, like all the charm we were used to had nowhere left to land. We testified. I knew we would. From the beginning, we were told it was likely, and I went into it determined to be calm and factual. I wasn't there to admit guilt or apologize on anyone's behalf. I spoke about who our son was, how he grew up, how he'd always been intense but hardworking, how he could be socially awkward in ways that didn't come across that way to strangers. I thought that mattered. I still think it should have mattered. What I wasn't prepared for was how much of our past would be laid out by someone else. Emails I barely remembered sending were read aloud. Messages where I told people things were being misunderstood, that emotions were high, that it would all calm down. Situations I thought we had handled quietly were brought back up, framed as patterns instead of isolated events. I could feel the room shift in ways I couldn't stop. It wasn't dramatic, just subtle. Less nodding, more stillness. When it was over, when the jury left and came back, I already knew. I didn't want to admit it, but the weight in my chest told me everything before the verdict was read. Guilty. More than one count. Sentencing set soon after. Real prison time. Not symbolic, not probation, not something that could be explained away as a technicality. I don't think I cried when it happened. I think I went numb first. There's a strange quiet that settles when the worst thing actually lands. Everyone around you reacts, but you feel like you're underwater, watching it happen from a distance. The fallout afterward was worse in ways I didn't expect. Our younger son didn't say anything to us directly. He didn't need to. He cut contact completely, and this time it wasn't emotional or reactive. It was final. We heard through other people that he wanted nothing to do with us going forward, that he felt safer that way. We were also told, indirectly, that any future children would not be part of our lives. No visits, no updates, no exceptions. It felt punitive at the time, and part of me still feels that way. But there's nothing we can do about it. Boundaries don't bend just because you disagree with them. Our marriage took a hit too. Not in a dramatic, explosive way, but in the quiet, resentful way that's harder to fix. We started arguing about things that weren't really the problem. Parenting decisions from years ago. Who noticed what first? Who brushed off what? Who pushed harder? There's a lot of blame to go around, and it doesn't stay neatly contained. Socially, things have all but dried up. People we used to see regularly stopped inviting us. Some were polite about it. Others just disappeared. At first, I was angry and convinced they were judging us unfairly, but after a while, the anger just turned into embarrassment. It's exhausting to feel like you're carrying something everyone can see but no one wants to talk about. As for our older son, prison has stripped him of whatever illusion he had left. The calls are tense. He's angry at the system, at his brother, and increasingly at us. He says things now that he never used to, about how none of this would have happened if we'd handled things differently earlier. I don't even know what to do with that. Part of me wants to push back. Another part of me hears something uncomfortably close to the truth. What I didn't expect was how empty everything would feel once defending him stopped being effective. For years, that's what I did. I smoothed things over, explained, minimized, protected. Without that role, I'm not sure who I am anymore. I don't feel redeemed, and I don't feel fully guilty either. It's like standing in the middle of two truths that don't cancel each other out. Final update. I'm writing this a lot later than I planned. Part of that is because time started moving strangely once everything settled into what I guess is our new normal. Another part is because there's nothing left to argue against. The trial is long over, the appeals went nowhere, the noise died down, and what's left is just the result. It's been almost 2 years now. Our older son is still in prison. That's the simplest way to put it, even though nothing about it feels simple. Visits are structured and cold, even on the days where he's calmer. The person he used to be when he walked into a room and filled it doesn't exist anymore. He's angry most of the time, quieter when he's tired, and always watching the clock. Whatever confidence he once had has been replaced with something sharp and brittle. He doesn't charm people now. He sizes them up. He doesn't talk about the case the way he used to either. In the beginning, everything was about being framed or misunderstood. Now it's more circular. He talks about how none of this would have escalated if it had been handled differently early on. He doesn't say that in a reflective way. It's not insight, it's blame that's been rearranged so it fits the situation better. Some of it lands uncomfortably close to home. Our younger son is gone from our lives completely. No occasional updates, no secondhand news anymore either. People stopped volunteering information once it became clear we didn't have a relationship to patch. From what we know, he's doing well. Steady job, stable life, planning things that don't involve us. That used to feel like a personal rejection. Now it just feels like a door that closed because it had to. I still think about how he tried to tell us. Not in a dramatic way, not with ultimatums. He flagged things. He pointed out discomfort. He asked for distance. And every time, we reframed it as tension. Jealousy, overreaction. We treated his caution like an inconvenience instead of information. At the time, it felt like keeping peace. Looking back, it feels more like silencing the person who disrupted the picture we wanted to keep. We don't have family gatherings anymore. Holidays are quieter. Birthdays pass with short texts or none at all. Friends drifted away once the situation stopped being current and became permanent. At first, I was angry about that. I thought people were cruel for not standing by us. Now I understand that most people don't know how to sit with something this uncomfortable for long. Our marriage survived, technically, but it changed shape. We don't fight the way we used to. There's less heat and more resignation. Certain topics stay off the table because neither of us wants to say out loud what we're both already thinking. Parenting comes up more in hindsight than in blame, but it's still there, woven into everything. We each defend our version of past decisions quietly, mostly to ourselves. I've had to sit with the possibility that we confuse protection with denial, that we believed being loyal meant refusing to see patterns. We labeled one child as strong and another as difficult, and then treated everything through that lens. When the strong one crossed lines, we softened it. When the difficult one raised concerns, we questioned motives. That didn't start at the wedding, it was already there. At the same time, I won't pretend everything is clean or clear now. I still think the punishment was heavy. I still have resentment I haven't fully untangled, especially toward the girlfriend at the center of all of this. I know that's not a comfortable thing to admit, but pretending it vanished would be dishonest. Accountability doesn't arrive all at once, and mine came in pieces that don't fit neatly together.